D'après mon iPad, oui.
On est 1, 2, 3, 4.
Les 8.
On est tous ici.
Ouais, il manque, ils disent, on ne voit pas le visage, mais son nom est là.
Bonsoir, good evening, bienvenue à la réunion spéciale de conseil. Welcome to our special meeting of council. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interest? Aucune déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire ou de conflit d'intérêt? None? Is there a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Conseiller Norm, Conseiller Léo.
Madam Mayor, our clerk seems to have had a bit of an issue. If we can just pause for a second, there she comes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see, I'm not too sure if we also lost another counselor also.
We lost Councillor Senecal as well.
Okay, so you know what, we'll wait a few minutes.
Et Saint-Caroli, qui est pas là.
And the clerk, we're waiting for the clerk.
Oh, and we lost the clerk too.
Yes.
I wonder if Rolly realized it's 6 and not 6:30.
Oh, there she is.
I'm wondering if Rolly realized it's 6 and not 6:30.
He's here.
He's here?
He's just coming in.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, so coming back, we were at the part that there was no conflict for the resolution to adopt the agenda. Conseiller Norm and Conseiller Léo.
It is moved by Councillor Laberge and seconded by Councillor Mallette. We have resolved that the agenda for the special council meeting held on July 26, 2022 be adopted as presented.
Any objections? Aucune objection? None? Carried, adopted. We have one item on the agenda. And this has to do with the lease for Twigs Restaurant at Minnehaha Bay. Unissime à l'ordre du jour, qui est le bail pour la location de Twigs à Minnehaha Bay. We have a memo dated July 22nd pertaining to the lease agreement renewal from our Director of Economic Development. And I'll just ask, I know that there was consultation amongst our CEO, our Director of Economic Development Community Services, and our Director of Corporate Services. So I'm just going to pass it on, if no objection, to Ms. Cradock, if she wants to walk us through the memo that was provided.
Thank you. So everyone is aware that we have a tenant with the restaurant at on the marina, obviously. And we were approached by the franchisor, not our tenant, but by the franchisor a little while ago, that she would like sort of a lease rate, because she was going to go out and sort of they were looking for a new franchisee to operate the location there, and wanted just sort of a lease rate so that when she was presenting the package to potential franchisees, they knew what they might be getting into. And so, you know, based on our analysis, we've provided a lease rate of $12 a square foot. And she went out with that. We understand very recently that there is a potential new franchisee. There is some sort of legal stuff as far as whether it's the, you know, how the franchisee is coming into the business. And we got just a bit of feedback that Ms. Twigs, who is the franchisor and not the tenant themselves, might be looking for a lease rate something lower than the $12 a square foot that we've provided as an amount for her to go out when she was doing the shopping, the franchisee. And so the rest is then sort of based on stuffs there. For those that weren't around at the time, the facility was built, it was originally built to be our marina on one side, and then the whole other side was built to be a restaurant. We did have some difficulty filling that restaurant, and so sort of chopped it up so that it's kind of a 2/3, 1/3. It's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit more on the restaurant side. The Twigs franchisee came in. There's a radio station that still occupies a part of the rental space there. So when Steph has given you, or Mr. Poulin has given you the cost recovery for that tenant, that's a prorated portion based on square footage compared to what the other tenant is paying and occupies in there. So again, we are just actually, it's actually a good time because we've just finished a 10-year lease with them. It was a 5+5 initially. So, staff recommendation is, the $12 a square foot for the first 5 years. With some type of escalator in the second 5 years, but understanding that tenants want some security that we're not going to go from $12 to $30 in the 5-year renewal. We put sort of the potential cap at the renewal after 5 years, that being a cap of an additional 10%. Mr. Poulin did a bit of sort of market research and found that, there's a lot of variation in commercial leases, depending on what type of commercial, where that commercial is located, but found that the average is at $13 to $16 a square foot. What we have right now is an all-in lease, a gross lease, which means the landlord is paying all of the hydro, utilities, maintenance, all of that kind of, all of those expenses on the facility. So that's what we have right now. Obviously, the location at the bottom of the hill, not being right on the highway, not being downtown, is going to be on the lower end rather than, a premium rate for a commercial lease rate. So the $12 a square foot gets us close to what kind of the average market is. And average doesn't mean that everything has to fall into that category, but gets close to that average. And it also brings us closer to a cost recovery on the building. As far as what our expenses on the facility are. And I guess that's where we're at. So we're looking for, if council has any other feedback, or, if council is looking to do any type of reduction for the tenant or the negotiation, then we'll take that advice from council.
Okay, thank you so much. The reason that I had called a special meeting and identified that it was an urgent situation is Ms. Twigs there is an operator that is interested in taking over the operation. And my understanding is that anyone that wants to pursue a business, sometimes they do require financial backing or financial assistance from a financial institution. And that's, what's required, in the financial world, a business plan, and they also need to be able to estimate what their lease would be. And my understanding is that the sooner that this is done, the better it is to ensure that we don't lose an operator that's interested in taking over the franchisee and operating Twigs here in Sturgeon Falls. So that's the main reason why. Now, the correspondence that had been provided via email identified that the lease still had 2 years remaining, and that information was conveyed to Ms. Twigs that the lease still had another 2 years remaining. So there might be some confusion out there if Ms. Twig believes that there's a 2-year lease, 2 years remaining on the lease, with the expectation that the agreement would be similar to what the agreement is actually being paid until it would be subject to renewal and looked at a new lease. Ms. Pradock?
So actually, that came from Ms. Twigs herself. She had asked if the remainder of the lease could run out. obviously the tenant's still there, the remainder of the lease, we said the remainder of the lease could come out, and she said the 2 years. When Mr. Poulin went and checked, he realized it was not 2 years, and he immediately called Ms. Twiggs and corrected that with her, so she is very aware that the lease terminates, or the current lease terminates this year.
Okay, so that could be where there was a little bit of confusion with a new operator that's being lined up, assuming that they would be paying a similar amount of what's being paid currently for another 2 years. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm going to open the floor for questions, but I just wanted to make sure that we had all the information so we can have the discussion. When we, what does it equate as far as the increase that's being proposed from 713 to 12 square foot? That would represent what percentage, and an increase of a total of how much per year?
32%, 33.6.
So it's an increase of just under $5. So $5 of 712. So it's just shy of a sort of a 70% increase. Now, how much per year? You're talking dollars?
That's right.
Okay. So
3.6.
It's $14,000.
yeah, it's going from 20,000 to just shy of 34,000.
Okay, and that represents, you made reference 70% increase? A 70% increase. And if I understood correctly, they pay their insurance, they pay their electricity,
No. No.
it's covered by us.
Their insurance is obviously their insurance. The building insurance is on ours, but their insurance is obviously their insurance. We don't insure the operation of the business, but we cover all the building expenses, all the utilities, all the maintenance on the building. We have our portion of insurance on the building. And the cost that Mr. Poulin has given includes just our hard cost. It doesn't include the fact that it's our public works that do the plowing, or our community services and that, because it's our own staff that do the plowing and all that type of maintenance. That's just, sort of the contractor maintenance and facility maintenance on it that we have.
But when we make reference to the maintenance of the building, is it maintenance inside of the location that's being rented, or
We change
outdoor?
light bulbs and clean fans and the whole 9 yards. Yep.
Because we are the owner, okay, of the building. Okay, so what's being proposed before us is a new lease renewal with a 70% increase, which would equate to $14,000 extra per year. And I think that could be a concern for Ms. Twiggs with the new operator with that actual increase, but I'm going to open the floor for questions so we can provide direction. Conseiller Leo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Mrs. Braddock. How long is the lease for?
So we're proposing another 10-year.
Okay.
I'm calling it a 5 and 5. So 5 with this rate fixed, and then 5 years potentially with an escalator in it, depending on how inflation is rate, how market rents have moved and things like that.
So it's similar to what we had before?
Yep.
Okay, I thank you. I support that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Conseiller Denis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wondering if it would be possible maybe to look at a gradual increase over the first 5 years and then lock in 5 years, the next 5 years, but 70% increase is a lot. I know it's below market, but maybe we could do it gradually to give them a chance to start up the business. Because it's very important to keep these businesses going. And I think last time we had a hard time finding a tenant. So anyways, I would look at gradual increase for the first 5 years. That's my option. Thank you.
Conseiller Notman?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, me, I fully understand Councillor Senecal's position, but personally, I find that municipality to provide a building at below cost to a commercial venture where there's maybe 6 or 7 other similar operation in town that pay commercial tax and everything. We're creating, I think, an unfair business proposal because, okay, they have this amount of a lease, but they don't pay commercial tax unless I'm wrong, because it's a municipal property and the municipality absorb all the maintenance costs. So to give them a below, and $12 is the low end of the average rate within the community. So that means every other commercial establishment in town are paying, an average of $15 a square foot. And on top of that, they pay commercial taxes because it's a private operation. So that's where I have a problem to use tax dollar money to subsidize a private enterprise. When they started, I can understand for a few years get it started. It was a new concept, a new project. But now, I'm sorry, but I cannot support anything under the $12. Thank you.
Councillor Chris?
So I agree with Norm, and there are very similar businesses, and you basically handing this business a competitive advantage over other businesses, and we're doing it with taxpayers' dollars, and I don't think that's right. So I agree with Norm.
Councillor Broley?
Thank you, Mara. I also I'm of that agreement that at least what staff is recommending, because you take businesses in River Valley, take businesses in Laving, which is like we're not on the main drag a lot of time, and there's no breaks, so definitely that increase needs to, and it's taxpayers that are paying for this. So I say at a minimum, the bare minimum would be what staff is recommending. Thank you.
Councillor Yvon?
Well, through experience, Madam Mayor, I have a building on Main Street that has 3 businesses, and I'm renting it at $8 a square foot. I'd love to get 12, but I'd be empty. So we're not in Sudbury or North Bay, and even then they're going to start having a hard time. The fact of the matter is you got to realize that we're not a big city. We're not where people can walk down and have a lot of people come into the establishment. If you go within the establishment now, there is traffic, but not as much as you would expect to be if it was in Sudbury or North Bay. And I've owned the building for 35 years. And that's the way it's always been in this community. Again, I would have wished I could rent it for $12. I'd be laughing.
Well, thank you for sharing that information, because it's factual information. If you, as per the information shared by Councillor Johaim, and having tenants that were paying $8 a square foot, I understand the fact, of the cost recovery concept, but we're not going to be ahead if we have an empty building that we need to maintain the heat, the electricity, and find someone else if we provide such an increase overnight. Councillor Dan?
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple of issues at hand. The 70% increase is not a 70% increase because we're starting afresh. We're starting with somebody new. This business has been on the go for 10 years. If they can't make it with $12 a square foot, then I think there's an issue. When we compare this building to Councillor Jahane's building, you're comparing an orange to an apple. It's in prime location. We've created an environment where people go there. I think that I agree with Councillor. Well, I don't think I agree with Councillor Rowley, Councillor Leo, and Councillor Chris and Councillor Norm that we go to a bare minimum of $12 a square foot. Because the thing is that this council has been preaching that we don't want to pay, we don't want to unfairly give competitive processes to others. We've been saying that it's the taxpayer shouldn't pay more than what they're getting. And here we're going to subsidize a business and at the taxpayer's price. So I'm adamant that we should be at $12 minimum a square foot. I had a discussion with 2 or 3 owners this week that rent, and they're telling me that anything under 12 would be blatant. Would be kind of an insult to them because they're basically charging, one individual's charging 15 and the other one's charging 14, and he says that's what we should be recouping. So that's my position.
Councillor Chris?
So I just, it would be unfortunate to lose Twigs, but on the flip side of that, that is a very beautiful space and it's a municipal asset. And, there are all kinds of things we could do with it. So I wouldn't necessarily, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You could put the library there. You could cycle the museum through there. We could sell our own. It just, to me, it would not be the end of the world. So I'm kind of stuck with staff's recommendation. I think that's more than fair.
Councillor Lise?
Well, I do understand everything everybody's saying, but I had a business for I don't quite remember. I think it's a minimum of 10 years. And I think the last year I was able to break even. And the cost of my mortgage was definitely not $12 square feet. It's sad to hear that, a comment well, it wouldn't be too bad. Somebody's going to take their place. But with everything right now, starting a business and the interest rate that is going up, the recession that, I don't know why they don't call it a recession, but when you see inflation, that's going to become up close to 8%. And my second point, it's very sad because, the reason being that, the way that the lease is transferring hand, because that person worked really, really hard. And to say that after 10 years, your business is settled, you change business, you change name, you can sell the same thing. And you got to lose business and you have to start maybe not to zero, but very close to. Anybody that had a restaurant or a chip stand, well, not a chip stand in Sturgeon, because obviously it's always been like a gold mine. Well, not anymore because of the price of everything. But I'm just saying it's not so easy. And we're talking about business that has been established. And like I said, yeah, we have a nice building, but sometimes when you're too greedy, that's the building going to stay there and you're going to maintain it. And you're going to have to open the road in the wintertime because for the fire, the insurance. So I do believe that it was time maybe for an increase, but you cannot give an increase of going up for 7, almost double, more than double the price. Well, not double the price, but whatever. I think it's way too much. It's taking advantage of a bad situation, a sad situation. This is the way I see it. So I will definitely not agree on the $12. I agree there should be an increase. I agree with that. But we don't even have Because $20,000, is it, what is the hydro cost? We don't, I know we're paying for it, but what is it? I don't know, but and it doesn't matter at this point of time, because obviously the decision is made. But I mean, think about it, if you go and buy something and one day you pay $1 and the next day you're gonna pay whatever, almost 70% more than you paid, you might not rent it. And other business, the downtown, yes, there is business, but they're struggling. I do agree. And how many closed their door because of the fact that they were paying that average and they closed their door. So, and a restaurant is a lot more competitive. Look, we have one Canadian Tire, we have one Radio Shack. They sell similar thing, but we have a few business in West Nipissing, restaurant. So, and to say that they're gonna pick up where they're left, I don't think so. Just the fact that it's not the same owner will mean a decrease for a new owner. That's for sure. So my position is, yes, I would have agreed to an increase, but never agree on the 12%. So this is what I have to say. Thank you.
Well, based on the circumstances and based on the location, being a proponent that was at the table when we tried to secure a tenant there, we had offered every restaurant within West Nipissing the opportunity to take on that location if interested. We went in the outlying areas between North Bay and Sudbury to get a franchise. We were very fortunate at the day to be able to secure Twins. And I have a difference of opinion. I think that the facility of an eating establishment that's being provided in conjunction with the marina is a benefit for economic development. I think it does attract voters to come to West Nipissing and hopefully even take time and spend time in West Nipissing. I can't support a 70% increase. I would have loved to have known what is the rental, the lease agreement with other organizations or private sector within our municipal infrastructure. We do have a private sector operator within our complex. What is the lease agreement square footage that they pay? We provided also lease for, non-for-profit at the A-frame, and during COVID, their lease was provided an exemption during COVID. So, I mean, yeah, we can debate the issue that it's taxpayers' fund, but as mentioned, that building still needs to maintain whether it's occupied or not occupied. And if it becomes not occupied, then it becomes a liability to the taxpayers. And we know that the winter months does not equate to the summer months. And if we have someone that can be there 12 months out of the year, kudos to West Nipissing. Challenge. I would have endorsed an increase and letting the new operator know that they're subject to an increase. I would have endorsed of looking at a 5-year term or 5-year and letting the new council subsequent and the new term look at a 5-year moving forward after, but not 70% increase. I think we're just creating hardship to a local operator, a local business to be able to maintain the space and to provide the enjoyment to residents and tourists in West Nipissing from that location. Conseiller Yvon?
And there's Leo was.
My apologies. Conseiller Leo?
Thank you, Mayor, Madam Mayor. Through you to with Mrs. Craddock, what was negotiated with the owners? If we don't pass this tonight, are we in jeopardy of losing that the franchisee?
Not to my knowledge at all. Like there's actually, the franchisor just asked us for a lease rate some time ago that she could go out and shop the franchise package with. We've just very recently learned that there's a potential one. We've had no negotiation. Miss Twiggs herself is not the franchisee. She's not our tenant. We've had no negotiation. We haven't had any contact with the potential tenant. We actually have no idea at all. So Mr. Poulin had originally called them and said, we'll be in touch after our August meeting. So I don't believe there's any risk of losing the tenant at this point in time if we don't make a, yeah, but we haven't even, kind of had a conversation with them.
Okay. Madam Mayor, might continue?
Yes, please do so, but I wish to clarify a comment afterwards on that subject.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so I mean, right now we're in negotiations. What you're asking tonight is, was there a resolution to approve the leasing or what?
Not to approve, sorry, Councilor Millet, not to approve the lease, no, because, I said we don't have corporation number, any of that kind of thing. It's not to approve the lease. It's just if council wanted to consider a structure other than $12 a square foot, or wanted to consider a structure other than the 5 and 5, then to provide us guidance with that, because we would use that in developing the lease with the tenant.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Guy.
Okay. According to Ms. Twigs, I'm not too sure what were the discussions with our administration, but there were discussions that took place that they did have a new operator that's willing to take over. And they needed to firm up what was going to be the lease agreement. What was the money involved per square footage? Was it going to remain the same for the duration of the lease? Or was there going to be an increase? And if there's an increase, what would be the increase? Because it could make a difference. My understanding is that the individual that wishes to take over has made arrangements or is in the process of looking at financial assistance, a loan of some kind, but they also need to firm up what's going to be their lease for the space that they're going to be occupying. And is the lease going to be the amount that's presently paid by the operator? Or is the lease going to be subject to an increase? And if it's an increase, by how much? And then they're going to crunch their number to see if it's feasible or not. That was my understanding, and that's the information I conveyed to both the CEO and to the Director of Corporate Services. And it was understood that they were discussing with Ms. Twigs. Ms. Cradock?
That's not quite correct. And again, it doesn't really matter for where we are right now, but we had provided the franchisor with the $12 a square foot rate some time ago. That she been provided that rate. She was aware that we were looking at an increase. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, that was on the table already. Until she contacted you, we were not aware that they actually had someone who was prepared to go. At that point, we were under the understanding she was still shopping it around until she contacted you, which is why we've had, other than, we had a quick call with her before Mr. Poulin went on vacation. So, but either way, what we're looking for now is, if council wants to do anything other than the $12 a square foot, you need to give us direction now so that we can go back and let them know there's something else. But they have had that $12 a square foot. That's the number that they've had to work with.
There was Conseiller Dan and Conseiller Rowley.
We've been sitting at this table for 3 years now, 3 years and change. This is the first time that we get part, or the mayor or council is in part in negotiations. I have a problem with this. I think that it's an administrative issue, and staff have been negotiating leases with all our tenants. We have Centre Communautaire de Santé, we have EMS, the building where the ambulances are, we have physiotherapists in the building, we have the OPP lease. Staff have negotiated that and there was no issues. Why is this one becoming politicized? I have a problem with that, and I'll come back to my point that we should be leaving staff do their job and move forward.
Conseiller Norm?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, further to Rita's comment, I have a different version. We are not interfering with staff's process. Staff has asked us to give them the figure. Council is always the last one to approve something and put a stamp of approval on it. So whether we're negotiating wages or negotiating a lease or negotiating the purchase of a grader, staff find the amount, they bring it to council. Council will say, well, for this item, we're willing to go to this point, and they go back and negotiate on our behalf. They do the negotiating, but we set the top end value or the lower end. So in this case, I've heard some councillors saying that they're willing to consider the trees not as much. Well, maybe they should put down what they're looking at. Is it $10? Maybe we can start with something, and some of us might go down, some of you might go up. So that's my position. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for the point of clarification, Councilor Dan, because it's not overstepping our boundaries by providing direction. It's part of our duties. And to give direction to staff, staff does the legwork. They come back and then it's either endorsed or refused by council. Councilor Rowley and Councilor Alice.
Thank you, Madam. Again, I'm sure at $12 a square foot, I did own, I was in the restaurant business, and where I'm sure we're not recuperating all the cost of operating this facility with the plowing and the light bulbs and everything else that's going on. There is no way. So it's the taxpayers that end up flipping the bill for this. So if at $12 it's not doable, then we should look at doing something else with it or selling the building. That's my take on this. Thank you.
Councilor Alice.
Okay, well, just a quite of a point of clarification, Councilor Dan. I think if we cannot bring concern, if we have somebody that call us, and how many times that all of us bring things to the table. So it is happening at the table. And as far as I'm Councilor Roberge, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but it's exactly the way it is. That's not maybe the way it was or it's happening, but that's the way it should be. As far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at Monsieur Barbeau email dated July 19, which I mean, July 19, we're to the 26th today. So it's on like 19, it's 7 days ago. He wrote that they still have 2 years remaining of this lease, which we said we would honor to renew the lease with slight increase to reflect actual costs that we incur in servicing this tenancy. Did not talk about square feet footage. So that's what I'm saying. So what is the difference to cover the price right now to give them, the new owner, a time to establish herself? And you're talking about building. What do we have in the building in where they used to call the interpretation center right now? Who's there? Who's there except who's there? Can somebody tell me who's there?
We have two tenants, Economic Partners, and we have the West Nipissing Chamber of Commerce.
So who's paying?
They each pay a rent.
Okay, a rent. And if I remember correctly, the rent we were charging for some of them, which was, I guess, giving a break during COVID, which I don't have a problem with that. Never brought to council, but it was done. They were not that high, and they don't have the side of the closet. That's the only two that you have in the building. So are you gonna tell me that with what we're charging with those, they were breaking even? I don't think so. But I mean, like I said, I'm ready to negotiate, but put on the table something that would not force somebody that wants to buy the franchise. And on top of that, if it's a past employee, I mean, you always need startup or whatever. I mean, the money is not flying off. So point of time is like, and I'm very surprised that it was said by Mr. Barbeau, and then everything, now they even think it was 2 years, and now it's not 2 years. So they were talking to them, it said at the first, no special meeting. This is administration filed under the director, blah, blah, blah. Mr. Poulin, I'm maintaining contact with the franchise owner Well, I mean, franchise, when was the last time you had a conversation? I didn't have a conversation with them personally, but I mean, some point of time, at this point of time, obviously, we can talk about it till we're blue.
Jose Alice,
Yeah.
question to you. You made reference that you're willing to look at an increase, but not $12 a square foot to start. What would you propose?
Well, I would propose that the increase right now to make it fair and to make it feasible for that, for those person, you have a 5-year lease and you're proposing $12 square feet, okay, which is an increase. It was 7 something. Can somebody get, let's say it's $6. Well, I need a wrong number. I'm just trying to show you what I would do it. I would divide the $12. Well, are you asking me or you don't want me to answer?
No, I want you to answer, but right now they're paying $7.13. It's being proposed an increase.
Okay.
And you say you don't support 12 because it's too much of a jump in an increase. What would you propose?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would divide it. It's a 5-year contract. If this is what you want to do, at least to give them a chance to know what they're going to be paying in 5 years, divide the difference in the 5-year at least. And if it's not feasible, they will know or start with 2 years and lower, and then the increase for the something like that to give them a chance to see if they can make it. With the price of everything, just I mean, they can increase their price on the menu, which was not a cheap menu and it was not an expensive menu. But I mean, with everything going up, I mean, come on, you're just putting a nail in the coffin right now. That's the way I look at it. So but that's it. That's it.
Thank you. If I were to summarize it, if you're looking at a 5% increase to be spread over 5 years, that would represent a 1% increase per year.
I believe she means dollars, not percents.
$5.
Okay, so she's going per dollar. Okay, so then it would be $1, an extra $1 per square footage per year for 5 years. So at the end of 5 years, the tenant would be paying the $12 per square foot.
It will be a little bit more than $1. It's $1.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. That's why I need that number.
I'm not being the mathematician right now to the precise, but there's also the recommendation of increasing the square footage to recover cost gradually by $1 per square foot every year for the next 5 years. And then this way, the new owner would know what to expect for year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. But that makes sense. So are you willing to put that on the table, Conseil Alice? Yes? Would there be
I can put it on the table and I mean, it's a
Okay,
start, but am
okay.
I the only one having idea? I don't think so.
Well, we need to bounce
Okay,
numbers.
I can put that on the table.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it would, and we would end up at 12 at the end.
That's
Yeah. It's I had a question to Madame Pradoff with respect to if the building was empty, what would it cost us? When you say our cost recovery is 34,000, what would it cost us anyway if the building was empty? Other than the fact that I guess we rented, we have a lease with someone else, I guess. So if the franchisee was, or anybody renting it would leave, it would still cost us that much anyway, other than we wouldn't have that much hydro to pay.
Yeah, well, we would lose a lot of the hydro and the heating, and some of the maintenance, because some of the maintenance is directly related to maintaining their equipment in the facility. So I don't have the answer for you, Councillor Duhaime, but yes, some costs would survive if we didn't have a tenant in there.
Okay.
Conseil Denis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Like I said at the start, I'm willing for a gradual increase of some sort, any way you want to put it. But my point is that they're paying they've been paying below market value for a long while now. And I think it's really unfair to have a company or a business that's just restarting. And you know how it's hard to restart a business. So why do we have to recover everything all at once? Which brings us back to the gradual. We've supported this business off and on for the last 10 years, I guess, and they've never paid the going rate. And now we're asking the new owner to pay all of a sudden to pay the going rate. I think it's unfair, really unfair. And I think we should have more considerations for our businesses in West Nipissing. It seems this council is against business. I don't know what the issues are, but geez, let's put our heads together and at least help the businesses to start up. And to just say that we don't care, we're going to close her down and do something else, that is really a stupid comment. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so gradual. So this is a suggestion that was proposed by Councillor Alice and approved by Councillor Yvon, that a gradual increase per square footage occurs every year for the next 5 years, and i.e. to bring it to what is being proposed at 12%. I don't want to say
$12.
to $12. Yeah. I don't want to be using exactly what the numbers would represent. We have staff to do that, but who would support such a suggestion? I would support it as well.
Still thinking about it.
Okay. Because then we know that the new operator would be subject to a marginal increase every year to be brought closer to what's being proposed to the $12 per square foot. And instead of covering that increase all at once, it would be done gradually.
Your Worship, can I make a counter proposal? Since there was some misunderstanding or maybe miscommunication on the issue of whether the lease was due in 2 months or in 2 years, maybe to 1 year at the current rate, and then the next 4 years at $1.50 per year.
Increase.
So then we would end up at $13.50.
Well, we'd even be going higher than $13.50. Higher than
$6 plus 7.
was
Yeah.
this.
1.25.
No,
That-
it would go $6. By the
Who would
end.
get $13 instead of $12, but they would get the first year because they're starting up, they have to sign a loan and whatever. They have some breathing time to start, and then 4 years at $1.50, which would end up in 5 years from now at $13.15 a square foot.
Well,
Okay, that is a suggestion. Would there be an opportunity as well to give us an idea of exactly an overview or a summary of who is paying $13 to $16 an hour amongst tenants that we have within the municipality, the research that's been done? Because we also heard from a previous owner a previous building owner, that it was $8 per square foot.
Yeah, but then again, it's.
But that again, I'll just,
Mayor, Ms. Braddock had a response.
I
to
know
that.
that's what I was gonna say, Conseil Leo. I was just gonna turn it over to Ms. Pradock.
So if I can perhaps help where Councilor Roberge was going and Councilor Denise Senecal and Lise Senecal, if there is a general consensus at the table that you're okay with the $12, but you want to get there gradually, you want to get there over 5 years, that we leave that as the direction to go back to Mr. Poulin, and then he has a discussion. So if the new leasee says, you know what, can we hold it for a year and I'll take the 5 over, you know, the next 4 years, or they want to backload it. But if council sort of says, look, these are what you can work with, I think Mr. Poulin can go that. If you want to be as specific as you are, that's okay too. But I just thought, you know, that might sort of, you know, give a little bit what Councilor Robert is just trying to do, that maybe they need a bit of flexibility in the first 2 years. So it's going to be, you know, nothing the first, $1 the second, $1.50, and kind of ramp up, and we get to the 12 at 5. If that's sort of, you know, yes, we want to do it gradually, and yes, we want 12, then I think Mr. Poulin can probably work with the new franchisee to come up with something that works.
I would
Oh,
support
yeah.
Mr. Robert.
Okay, but before I ask that question, Jose Leo, I just want to clarify something with our Director of Corporate Services. So would we be comfortable that for year one, what's being said is that there'd be no increase for year one? This way, whoever's the new operator, if they need to go out for a business loan, they can at least identify that they're not going to have an increase for year one, but will be subject to increases, gradual increases for the next 5 years. So this way, we're not jeopardizing the opportunity of a new operator getting a business loan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Again, we don't know that the
Well-
new franchise wants to stick to that 7. Again, if you leave Mr. Poulin that flexibility on what he does, as long as we get there at the end of the 5, then he can work with the franchisee on things like that.
But, yeah. So who would agree that it would be a gradual increase, and to provide the flexibility and the opportunity for no increase for the first year, and to look at gradual increases within the next 5 years to bring it to 12? Who would agree with that? I do 12, that's like this. Okay, now that provides direction. But could there be reassurance given to council by communicating with Ms. Twigs to ensure that we don't lose out, or that Ms. Twigs doesn't lose out on a new tenant to operate Twigs? Because I do know that Monsieur Poulin's on holidays, and the reason I sent the email is I sensed there was an urgency so they can finish the financial transaction that they needed to do at their end. So is there an opportunity to reach out to Ms. Twigs and to provide her an update summary of this meeting?
I certainly can reach out to her. I know that her and Mr. Poulin had set up some meetings when he was back, but I can certainly reach out to her, see where things are, see if she needs anything between now and when he's back, and yes, yep.
Okay, that would be greatly appreciated. We're all okay with that?
Yep.
Are there any further questions?
Oh,
None? Okay, well, that means we concluded the discussion for the renewal of the lease. And Ms. Twigs will be updated accordingly, and it will come back to council once the negotiation is finalized. I need a mover and a seconder to.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
there's actually a motion that goes with this decision, and I was going to read it once there was an agreed
Okay.
upon solution. So I'll get a mover and a seconder, but if I just understand that the first year is to remain status quo with gradual increases over the next 4 years to bring the rate to the proposed lease rate of $12 per square foot.
Councilor Elise.
well, I don't think that's what Madame Corporate Service offer. I think she said it could be within that, come to the same thing, but it could say, for example, I would prefer to every year the same amount and or whatever, and then they will come back as long as we get the 12 to the $12, or because even with Councillor
I think that's what I said.
Norm, it would have been coming the same thing as paying every year almost. So
So-
I think that's what missing. Am I wrong, Madame Corporate Service? That's what you were.
Yeah, so I think that it was just the first part, that it was not a commitment necessarily that the first year was absolutely no change, but that was a possibility that we could negotiate with that. But that, yeah, the up to 12% over 5 years with the possibility of a freeze in the first year.
Okay. So instead of, so it would say that a gradual increase is to be agreed upon over the next, over 5 years to bring the rate to the proposed 12% with a possibility of a freeze on year one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 12%. I think it's $12.
Yeah.
Or sorry, $12. My apologies.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, can you reread?
So there are other terms too. The other was everybody agreeable to a 5-year with a 5-year option to renew?
Actually, I think I heard 5 years, period.
Period, yeah.
Yeah, so
Not with not with the renewal.
Okay, no, but I'm just talking about as an overall term. Is
Well-
council agreeable to renegotiating in 5 years?
Yeah.
Okay,
Five
we're
year
gonna-
and-
Okay,
It was just part of what Mr. Poulet had asked for in his recommendation.
What we've discussed as a summary, yes, 5 years. Flexibility for Monsieur Poulet to reach out to Ms. Twigs with an opportunity of maybe no increase for year one, but subsequent increases to achieve the $12 an hour to be spread over the 5-year term. And to provide that flexibility to come back to council and to let us know what the lease is subject and approved for council's consideration.
Okay, so gradual increases in rent to be agreed on over the next 5 years to bring the proposed lease rate to $12 per square foot with a possibility of rent freeze on year one.
That's correct.
Okay,
No increase, yeah.
Cossy Denis?
You have a recorded vote, Madam Mayor?
just let me grab that. I'll need a mover and a seconder, please.
Cossy Alice, Cossy Chris?
Okay, so with again, the gradual increases in rent to be agreed upon over the next 5 years to bring the rate to the proposed $12 per square foot with the possibility of a freeze on year one. Councillor Duhaime,
Yes.
Councillor Fisher,
No.
Councillor Larrabee,
No.
Councillor Mallette.
No.
Councillor Berge,
Yes.
Councillor Ravita. Councillor
Denise, yeah.
Ravita,
No.
Councillor Denise Senecal,
Yes, for sure.
Councillor Lee Senecal,
Yes, thank you.
Mayor Joanne Savage.
Yes.
It's carried.
So the motion is carried?
It is.
Okay. Now we do need the mover and a seconder for adjournment of the meeting. Cossy Chris? Cossy Alice?
It is moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2022-78 being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 26th of July, 2022 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any objections? Aucune objection? None? Carried. Adopted.
It is moved by Councillor Fisher and seconded by Councillor Lee Senecal. Be it resolved that the special meeting of council held on July 26, 2022 be adjourned.
Any objections? None? Carried. Adopted. Bonsoir. Good evening. Thank you.